Hi everyone, I'm Les.
And I'm Ashley.
And you're listening to Anthropotamus, where we explore some of your favorite anthropology topics.
Hi everyone, welcome to our latest episode, our latest book discussion on Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. And I greatly apologize to the author if I totally butchered your name. But yeah, so I'm going to be honest up front, I didn't finish the book because audiobook is 14 hours long. And for those of you who listen to our episodes regularly, you know I'm a very impatient person. But thank you to Les for reminding me to speed the book up. So if you haven't already listened to the audio of this book, the reader is a very slow speaker. So speeding it up really helped, but I still had like 5 hours left and then I gave up. But it's not because the book is bad. It's just, I'm just an impatient person and I just want to get to the end of stuff.
I first heard about this book while I was watching a YouTube channel called Kurz Kazat. And they do a lot of both political and anthropological and a whole host of other educational videos. Very entertaining. But they did a video based on this book, so I decided to take a look into it.
I think the only other book I listened to that was longer than that was maybe The Count of Monte Cristo.
I mean...
and I was just saying that book took me like 3 months to listen to.
I mean, I regularly listen to books that are 30 plus hours.
No.
No. And that's without speeding it up. So, I do that. No worries. Those are for entertainment. This is for education. It's a whole different thing.
That's true. I guess if it was like The Count of Monte Cristo, where it really where I'm like, what's happening next? And yeah, I would finish it. But since it's just more of an educational book and it's a lot of information. I think I just get bored with topics quickly. But I mean, the author is a very good writer. And a problem I have with some books, I have problems finishing. And I mentioned this in one of our most recent episodes is, we brought up Caste by, I think it was Wilkerson. And I was like, I couldn't finish that book, but it wasn't because of necessarily the topic. It was the writing and it was very descriptive. It was a lot of adjectives and a person's writing style will discourage me from reading it, even if it's not necessarily a bad form of style. I'm just impatient and just want to get straight to the point. And this book is actually really, really well written. It describes scenarios very well without like overly describing something. So, I mean, very, very good writing, very clear, concise, just it's 14 hours long.
Yeah.
Those are my 2 cents.
Yeah. So with the book, it's talking about a brief history of humankind. It goes through the Stone Age in various different cultures, all the way through modern culture.
I would say before Stone Age.
Yeah,
right, because he
does.
Because
we talk about Ardipithecus and the.
I guess technically they were using stone tools, but I wouldn't call that Stone Age. I guess I don't know what to call that.
Pre
human.
Pre Homo sapiens, or that's probably wrong.
No, I wouldn't say
right?
it's wrong. No, it's pre Homo sapiens, right? Because he talks about Homo ergaster.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I mean, honestly, the author does a good job of explaining that early human evolution in such a short period of time, right? When I started this book, I had just finished bioanthropology seminar and I was kind of burnt out on human evolution. When I started this, I'm like, this is not a good time to start this book. Actually, that's probably also why I didn't finish it. I just finished bioanthropology and I was kind of burnt out with it. But
you did mention that it reminded you of what you were already learning.
Yeah, so that was discouraging for me, not because of the author, but because I had just spent 3 months intensively studying evolution, and I was kind of like, oh, no more. But no, they did do a good job at just condensing a quick history of that early human evolution and that evolving into Homo sapiens.
The main point of that I got out of the book, the main part that I thought was interesting, was the idea that society is based on a bunch of shared ideas and just collective imagining. It talks about how we pretend things are real, these social conventions, when there's no actual reality enforcing any of it but the collective. Considering banks and corporations and all these other different things.
And you bring that up, and there was, I don't remember which chapter this was, and I think it was before the chapter on money. Mm-hmm. And it really kind of made me think about the political system. Is we every year we have, or whenever we have elections, it's always, you got to vote for the lesser of evil. But why? Like, because everyone is telling themselves they have to vote for the lesser evil because as a society we've decided that is our only option. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, no, it's not our only option. You as a society have decided that these are our two options, and we must continue to divide ourselves and let our government choose all these crappy people for us.
Yeah, we've kind of pigeonholed ourselves into this two-party system when, the truth is that there are a lot of different ideas out there and a lot of different ways to live. I personally, I'm not going to go into my political beliefs, but my wife and I have this ongoing conversation about egalitarian society.
And it's not even a necessarily attack on our current political system. It's more of a frustration with the mentality we have, like, these people are our only options because, we divide ourselves. Not necessarily like our government. When I say we just divide ourselves, I don't mean like, oh, because we're Republicans or Democrats. I mean, because as society, we decide to choose a side and not to interact with the others. Mm-hmm. And because we're so busy trying to say we're not one of them, we don't
we don't think critically about who we actually are. We're so willing to accept the things that we don't like about our own party, and I'm using air quotes here, because it's better than accepting what the others like.
Yeah. It's just like this mentality that prevents us from progressing and doing the same thing every election. But yeah, let's not get into politics. I didn't mean for that to be political. I was just thinking about how people are just so set in their way of thinking that it prevents change.
No, you're right. But at the same time, the book itself is, it's not directly about politics, but it kind of is when we're talking about shared, these shared imaginings. Politics in general is just this. You've got a government. What is a government except a collective of people who decide on a bunch of rules that we all decide to abide to, right? I mean, that goes into the idea of anarchy and do rules even matter and everything else like that. But yes and no, because it's that social contract. We are social creatures, which means that to live in the collective, you need to abide by these rules. And I'm not sure if that tracked at all, but
this will be turned into one of our another BS episodes. No, not really.
Well, I mean, I think all of our book reviews tend to be kind of informal, talky episodes, which, hey, I'm okay with that.
And we always joke about me being a horrible speaker and always going on these rants. I guess our book discussion is the one time you don't have to edit out as many of my rants.
Oh, I think that's the fun of it. To be honest, the book review is all about ranting. we don't want to go into the details of the book because we want others to read it. We want to show the passion or dispassion of what we found in it. I mean, at least that's the way that I see it. I'm not trying to spoil the book. I want to say, hey, I thought this was cool. Check it out, guys, because you might learn something or you might hate it, right? And I mean, I've been told this time and time again by writing professors, the best thing or the worst thing that you can have said about your work is that it was okay. Mediocrity is a lot worse than even having people hate it, because then people forget.
Easily forgotten. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Be evocative is what I was told. Be evocative. Share your opinions. Whether or not people like it doesn't matter.
Something. So they do discuss religion, how religion is used basically to control the masses. And I don't disagree with that. And we've discussed, we talk about religion all the time, whether it's probably not so much on the show, but,
Between you and I, yeah.
Yes.
We both have some feelings about religion.
And I agree. Religion is used to control people. But do I think religion was created to control people? No, I really think it was created just to explain things people just don't understand.
Well, we're curious creatures.
Yeah, and then it was just taken and manipulated, and people just use it for their own device. But yeah, but it did seem like the author was like, this is why religion was created, to control the masses. I'm like, well, but religion was kind of there even before large civilizations were created.
Okay, well, I think that okay, so the way religion works in a lot of different respects is a way of socially controlling large groups of people. Even its original, even in its original forms, the way that the proverbs and other different parables work is to give you a social framework to start with. Now, do I think it was always used by a leader to control a specific group? No. But it does give you a set of rules and a set of behaviors that are acceptable to
Well, when you say
society.
but you mentioned like proverbs, like I'm thinking before this, before Judaism or Islam or Zoroastrianism, I'm thinking like early hunter gatherers and their little figurines and right trying to explain shadows or something, right? Because I mean it's not a structured religion, but it's really kind of like the start of it.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I don't know if that would even be that's not the same as a large-scale religion.
No, but when I say religion was created, right? I mean that's essentially where it started, right? Is these ideas of spirits or whatever to explain things that could not at that time be explained.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, we're all curious creatures. And before the advent of the scientific method, people still tried to find answers. They just didn't have the methods to test their answers, and it was easier to say to a curious kid or to another individual in the group that, hey, we do it this way because of this, or the stars exist because X, Y, Z, different cultures having different explanations of it. You've got the question is always going to be there. And what I generally, and you know what, this is all opinion. I want to caveat that I am not an expert on religion. I'm not an expert on prehistory or anything, but it seems to me that when you have people asking questions and you have somebody in the group that wants to be the one answering, that when it's a small enough group, when the people are all kind of on an equal basis, you've got it's like, well, I'm explaining this because this is the way that I think it happened.
And it was random part of the book here. when it was talking about domestication of animals, and there it mentions one, right? It talks about the bad ways humans have treated animals when domesticating them, and I like to think that yes, of course, here in the U.S. with domestication of animals, you still have like factory farms and whatnot, and you're still killing them to eat them, right? But like one example was, I want to say a tribe would cut the snout of a pig off so he couldn't go sniffing around or something. I was like, oh my God, like why are humans so horrible?
Well, I mean, yeah, I couldn't say why humans are so horrible. Different people have different ideas of what is and isn't okay, obviously. I guess that comes back to what pressures are you dealing with. If you want your society to be successful, you're making a sacrifice on one standpoint for the group as a whole. And now it's not your sacrifice when you're sacrificing the animal's nose, but and I say sacrifice, but what I mean is you're choosing to, what is essentially maiming this animal for the purpose of supporting your group. It's I mean, I definitely see it as unethical, but I'm also not living in their circumstance. I'm not understanding what they're going through, and not the one dealing with the problems if you don't do it.
Right.
So I mean, I can look at it from that point and think that, well, from another person's perspective, I mean, I love to fish, right? And I go ahead and put a piece of bait on the hook, throw it out there, and I, pull the rod and set that hook into the fish's jaw. And from another person's perspective, vegans, or even, I'm not going to say the acronym, but there's a certain animal rights group who
we know what you're talking about.
Everybody knows who I'm talking about. Who has a problem with that, and they think it's unethical, and from their standpoint, it definitely might be. But at the same time, when I go fishing, if I'm not planning to keep it, I do my best to make sure that fish survives and will be healthy going forward. If I do keep it, I'm planning to eat the fish anyway, and I don't let it suffer, of course. But yeah, I mean, different pressures, different issues. It's gonna be yeah, I don't know what I was getting at here.
That you didn't want to judge other cultural practices because it's not your own, so you're not in their position.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Yeah, I'm not in their position. I can't really throw stones.
I just when I read that or listened to that part of the book, I just imagined somebody with like a machete just chopping off this poor pig's nose. I'm just like, oh God.
I hope it's more humane than that. I mean, they're pretty much you can't really. Okay, so humane is a terrible word. I hate that word because it makes the assumption that people are always going to be benevolent, and the truth is that we're just creatures that live on this planet just like everything else. We need to eat, and the problem is that we feel guilty about it sometimes. Where if you look at a lion, I don't know what a lion feels, but I doubt it feels guilty about eating a gazelle. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. I've
I feel like this just goes back to that book we read a couple months ago where we're just like, God, humans are just horrible.
There's a common thread there. There. But also, if you look at, the animal kingdom, I mean, there are animals that swallow other animals alive. There are others that squeeze them until their bones break. We're not that different from
I think it's
anything else
more
on
of
the
it's
planet.
like, well, except for maybe cats who like to like play with their
Yeah,
whatever
I mean,
they're hunting. But to me, it's like if you're gonna eat something, just kill it right away.
See,
Don't-
that's a very human idea, and
But I mean, a lion isn't keeping a gazelle in a cage where it can't move around and feeding it only corn. You know what I mean?
true.
Like the gazelle has a
Very
normal, free life until he, gets hunted down and pummeled and
Well,
neck
I
torn
mean,
off. But
personally, one of my greatest fears is actually just being hunted by a wild animal. I mean, I've had nightmares about this. Don't know why, but
you've had a free life this whole time until you got hunted down.
Exactly. That's not much of a consolation to whatever just got hunted. But
Could have been worse. You could have been kept in a cage being fed corn all your life.
Sure. Sometimes I feel like I'm kept in a cage and fed corn, but
We do eat a lot of corn in our society. It is in everything. Yeah, that's something I try to avoid in my meals, which is a totally different topic, but so I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like this chapter on money. I got really bored with that. It's just not a topic I'm interested in.
I mean that's fair.
I mean, it's an important topic. I get it. Being able to barter and trade with people, that is convenient, especially when you're going from one city to another. But yeah. And I think that might have been, I think I ended the book shortly after that. That chapter might have just been like
They
kind of
killed
the
it for
last. Yeah. I was actually thinking before we do this interview, I was just going to listen to the last chapter, but I never got around to it.
I'll be honest, I don't really remember that chapter.
On money?
Yeah, it just
So it wasn't a favorite of yours either.
no, it wasn't.
Mediocre.
I don't want to say it's mediocre because I'm trying to talk up the book. I do like
That's
the book.
true. It is a good book.
I do like the book, and I think it has a lot of interesting ideas in it. And I say that largely because a lot of those ideas are in line with my own personal ideals. So there's a little bit of bias there. But yeah, no, the money chapter didn't really do much for me. I never, had money growing up, and I'm at a point in my life now where we've got enough to, do extra things and save up some here and there. So it's a new experience for me, but at the same time, it's like I personally would love society without money. Like I said, I've got this long-standing conversation with my wife about egalitarianism and small-scale society versus large-scale society, and I think I do. She's definitely pointed out, but I think I do romanticize the smaller-scale society, and I don't like the idea that we have to work every single day of our lives pretty much just to survive.
Yeah.
But
lower density populations have less risk to spread diseases.
granted.
I mean, that was part of the problem with early agriculture, the hygiene and closeness.
Well, yeah, and I mean, animal husbandry was in its infancy, so
Poop everywhere.
yeah. Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. Distribution of Anthropotamus is in collaboration with the American Anthropological Association. Please continue to follow us on Instagram and Twitter @Anthropotamus for our latest episodes, show notes, and book discussion schedule.